Okay.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so one of those things that comes up on the CPP exam quite often is communications. So understanding motivation styles and how they look in the workplace. So keep those things in mind. So a few, management styles and things like that, make sure that you're aware of those. And Angela's hooking up a speaker or something. So we're gonna hit pause really quick.
You guys don't know what it sounds like. This is so sad.
We are recording now.
Yes.
I'll quit. I'll fight you.
Okay.
See how horrible it sounds?
Sorry about that. Okay, so employees' internal motivations and their values, make sure that you're, understanding the different communication styles, how managers can communicate with employees, all of that good stuff. So there's, people have assertive communication styles, they have expressive communication styles, introspective or supportive, and then know the different details that go along with all of those. So here's a couple of example questions on that. So to be more efficient with time management techniques, it is best to reduce tasks that are urgent and important, not urgent and unimportant, urgent but unimportant, not urgent but important. What do you think?
I don't really have any not urgent and unimportant tasks, but I can eliminate them.
I would love to reduce those if that's possible. Agree. So let's see. Payroll documentation should be written with an emphasis on payroll policies, including when checks are made available, with a priority on confidentiality so that only payroll personnel can understand, simply enough to allow payroll functions to be completed with little assistance, or by company attorneys to ensure that practices are in compliance with the law. Yeah, I agree. They need to be simple enough to allow payroll functions to be completed without little assistance. Oops, I went in the wrong order. Sorry. So the last one, an employee was an average performer until he was put in charge of a task force analyzing state workers' compensation programs. Since then, his performance has improved remarkably. What was the motivator for this employee? So in this case, he was put in charge of a task force. So leadership would have been the choice there. Sorry, I obviously don't know what order my question's going. The first step taken when giving employees the latitude to develop their own methods for achieving results is to hold people accountable, provide guidelines, identify resources available to accomplish the task, or establish the desired results.
B.
I would agree with you guys. You have to know what you need to happen before it can happen. So yes, that is the very first step. Good job. A payroll manager personally directs the work of her staff, a perfectionist with low tolerance for errors and great pride in the quality service award the department has won for 3 straight years. This payroll manager's situational leadership style would be described as high task, low relationship, high task, high relationship, low task, high relationship, low task, low relationship. I agree. High task, low relationship. This person cares about getting the tasks done, making sure that they are correct, making sure she maintains that quality service award, but doesn't necessarily have that relationship with her employees as much. So that would be her leadership style. So just a couple things to keep in mind. Make sure that you know the difference between some of the visas, an immigrant visa or a green card versus a non-immigrant visa or a temporary visa. I believe Katie did. Was it Katie who did this one? Probably. We did, get the H-2A temporary agricultural workers a lot, and then F-1 student visas a lot. Those are really the only two that I have seen very much in real world. But Katie, did you have questions on this on your CPP test?
I did, but they were really only on, I'm trying to think. There were definitely a couple that were on the visas.
Okay.
And I think there was one on a green card employee.
Gotcha.
I don't remember specifics because it was a while ago, but yes, there were a couple.
Okay. So I think, yeah, knowing the difference, and I don't think it was a super high topic, but yes, be aware of the different visas. Be aware of these items, the physical presence test. I think I had a question on the physical presence test. I know I had questions that are highlighted here about the amount. The qualified employees cannot exclude more than 107, which it was a different number, obviously, when I took the test, but for 2020, it was 107,600 of foreign earned income in 2020. So make sure that you know that number, and then the 17,216 is 16% of that. So I do know that I had questions on both of those. So make sure you study that one. Totalization agreements, make sure you understand that in either case, Social Security coverage must be established with the SSA for expatriate employees working temporarily in the foreign country, generally up to 5 years. They are subject to Social Security and Medicare tax only. Wages earned by employees working permanently in the foreign country are subject only to the foreign country's Social Security taxes. Moving expenses, Felicia and I have talked about this one a lot because this changed in 2018. So in 2018, before 2018, not all moving expenses were taxable. The employer could reimburse the employee for moving expenses, some of which items were non-taxable. But starting in 2018, all moving expenses are taxable with the exception of military-related moving expenses. So if you get a question about moving expenses and it's not military related, it's going to be taxable.
I have a question before you move on.
Yeah.
So if it is military related moving expenses, is everything then non-taxable?
I'm going to be honest, I would have to look that up, but I will do that.
You do that because I'm going to come back later and ask the question again because I'm going to get it wrong.
Hold on, I have to make a note or I won't look it up.
Alicia, you're going to be great.
Once she drills it into my head, I get it. I remember it. But now that she's throwing a wrench in not everything is taxable, I'm going to get that question wrong.
I will look it up and I will get back to you, Felicia.
Thank you. I'll look it up too.
Okay.
I'm just being lazy.
Know your health plans, pre-tax, post-tax. If it's a pre-tax health deduction, it's pre-tax for which taxes?
Federal Social Security and Medicare.
Huh? So it's not taxable for all of the taxes for the employee. So federal income tax, social security, Medicare, and unemployment. So and that's only if they have a section 125 plan or cafeteria plan through the IRS to be able to take those deductions pre-tax. So
Can I ask a question?
yeah,
So this test, it's all about federal taxes. There's nothing about state, right?
it's all about what?
Like federal taxes, federal
There,
withholding. Is there any state withholding?
there is, so if you're taking a pre-tax deduction, it would also be pre-tax for state. Now, the CPP exam doesn't have a lot of state questions on it because it's so general. They only focus mostly on federal, but yes, it would be pre-tax for the state taxes as well. Good question. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. All right, so if an employee is given the choice whether or not they are paid wages or they take insurance, so say the employer says, I'm going to either give you $500 cash a month or I'm going to pay for $500 of your insurance. If the employee takes the insurance, they are not taxed on it, but if the employee takes the cash, the IRS says that those wages are subject to all taxes. So just a little trick. I don't recall ever having a question like that on the CPP, but potentially could happen, I suppose. Medical expenses that are incurred for medication or drugs that are reimbursed through an employer provided plan, including an FSA or an HRA, are excluded from the taxable wages to the employee. So, but it has to be under an employer provided plan, like an FSA or an HRA. Kiddos, children, adult children can be covered through the year that the child turns 26 years old. They are considered still a dependent at that point, and the benefit that they receive is not included in the employee's taxable income if it's a employer sponsored health plan. So if you have a kid that's 26 or less, they can be included on your plan and it's not taxable wages to you, or you can take those pre-tax if you have a section 125 plan. Now, once they turn 27, then they can no longer be covered starting on the next year. Reimbursements in excess of expenses are considered income. So you'll want to, if you're paying an employee back for reimbursements, but they exceed the expenses, then the extra amount is taxable. COBRA premiums, the exclusion for accident and health benefits applies to amounts paid to maintain medical coverage for a current or former employee. So COBRA, I don't think I had any questions except maybe for the acronym on COBRA. And COBRA was enacted in 1986, which you can remember because Melissa was born that day. Or in that year, I should say. Sorry, not that day. So again, know the difference between domestic partners, same-sex marriages, those types of things when it comes to taxation on health plans. If the plan is discriminatory in terms of eligibility, then use this formula for the taxable amount. So the taxable amount is equal to the amount paid to the highly compensated employee times all amounts paid to highly compensated employees divided by all amounts paid to employees. If the highly compensated employee receives benefits other employees are not entitled to, then the full value of that benefit is taxable to the highly compensated employee. So again, can't discriminate when it comes to those highly compensated employees. And that's similar with 401ks and things like that. So,
And in this case, and in that case, because I know highly compensated employees, the definition changes.
The definition does change for highly compensated employees depending on the year. Yes. For 2020, what was it? 120,400? I don't remember off the top of my head.
And then is it like a certain percent ownership?
Not necessarily to be highly compensated. You could still be a highly compensated employee and not own part of the company.
Right, but that's another, like there's three things that could make you a highly compensated.
Yes. Right, that is true. You are correct. Um, know the timeframes for COBRA. So if how long people can have COBRA, those types of things. I think I only got a question on how long COBRA can last, which I'll be real honest, this is confusing right now because they've changed some of the laws for COBRA. But of course, you guys would only be tested on the actual normal laws. So you want to know that. "50 full-time or FTE employees in the previous calendar year determines ALE status." So for the Affordable Care Act, you're an ALE if you had 50 or more full-time employees or full-time equivalent employees in the previous calendar year. So if in 2020 your company had 50 or more FTEs, then for 2021 you must comply with the employer shared responsibility in terms of the Affordable Care Act. If you did not have, if you had less than 50 FTEs, then you do not have to comply with the employer shared responsibility. So I would know that. I would also know the acronyms for like ALE, those types of things. And if you have seasonal employees working and things like that, then they don't contribute to your ALE count if they work less than 120 days in the calendar year. So just keep those types of things in mind. ACA reporting. So again, ACA is reported through which tax filing system?
Is that one fire?
Air.
It's the AIR one. Yes. ACA and AIR go together. And then 1099s are the ones filed through the fire system. Yes, correct. So the 1094C is the summary report that goes to the IRS. And then the 1095Cs are the individual employee documents that go out to the employee, and they're also filed with the IRS. So if it's not an ALE and they are only reporting because they're self-funded or partially self-funded, instead of 1094 and 1095Cs, they would have a 1094B and 1095Bs. Again, the 1094s are those summary reports, kind of like a W-3 summary, and then the 1095s are the individual ones that go out to the employees, as well as get reported to the IRS through the AIR filing system. Oh, I just cheated and gave you the answer to that. So yes, it is filed through AIR. All right, so the percentage method is obviously a big one. So here's an example. Based on the following information, calculate the employee's federal income tax withholding for this pay period. Calculate the federal income tax withholding using both the optional flat rate method and the 2020 percentage method tables from tables in the toolbar. So this employee is married with 4 allowances. They are exempt. They are paid semi-monthly. They're getting a $1,300 bonus as an award only for this pay period. And they have a 401k, 15% on all regular wages each pay period to date. Oh my gosh, this is very confusing.
Is this how questions are asked on the CPP?
Say that again?
Is this how questions are asked on the CPP,
No,
or are they? Oh, this came right out of a pay train.
They are not this confusing at all, I don't think. So what they did is they took the taxable wages, 15%. We're going to skip that one because I'm very confused on where it came from. Sorry. I'll look at that one tomorrow and come back to it. Which of the following workers is classified as an exempt employee? I did have several questions on exempt employees on my CPP. So a trainee soliciting orders for a company's product, a purchasing agent performing clerical functions, an assistant office manager with no subordinates earning $1,074 per week, or the manager of a payroll department supervising 2 full-time employees. Yes, D, very good. What's the key to that? What makes them an exempt employee?
Supervising.
Supervising 2 full-time employees.
Correct, they're supervising employees. Good job. The E-Verify program checks with databases to verify employment authorization of newly hired employees. So I put this question in here because I got this question specifically on my CPP. Does anybody know which 2 agencies E-Verify program checks with?
D.
What was
SSA and DHS.
It is the SSA and the DHS. Social Security Administration and the Department of Homeland Security is the 2 places that E-Verify checks. And so I would take note of that because, like I said, I did have a specific question on that on my CPP.
I did as well.
Yeah. So good one. If a Form W-4 is incomplete, the employer must reject the form, tell the employee the form is incomplete, implement the form and ask the employee to complete another form, or ask the employee to provide the missing information on the form. Good job, Felicia. It's A, you have to reject it. If it is incomplete, you have to reject it. All right. An employee earns $800 biweekly and receives no other compensation. Calculate the Social Security and Medicare taxes from the employee's biweekly paycheck. You guys rock. 6120. Good job. What information didn't they give you in this question that could have affected your answer?
If they've reached 6 for the year for
Yes.
either Social Security or Medicare.
If they had, Katie, good one. If they had any pre-tax deductions they didn't tell us about, and Manon, I think you had said that year to date, and Felicia, yes, year to date information. So if that employee had been above the year to date taxable wages for Social Security, they wouldn't have had to have that withheld. And if they were above the additional Medicare limit, then they would have had to have the additional Medicare withheld. So just 2 things to keep in mind. An employee with year-to-date taxable compensation of $147,700 receives an $1,800 bonus. The employer's manager has requested that payroll gross up the value of the bonus. There is no state or local tax withholding. Using the optional flat rate method, calculate the taxable income on the bonus.
Is optional flat rate 22%?
It is 22%. I got the same as Felicia and Katie. So here's my little cheat sheet. You're going to take the amount of the bonus, divide it by 1 minus any taxes that you have to take out. So the tax that is not applicable in this situation was Social Security because that employee was over the Social Security limit. So to get your gross up calculation, you would do 1,800 divided by 0.7655, which in fact is 2351.40. Good job. When using the optional flat rate method, by what percentage is a bonus divided when grossing up for an employees with year-to-date wages less than 137.7 with no state or local withholding taxes? So this is asking you what you're going to divide by when doing a gross up calculation for an employee that has earned less than 137.7 for the year. So Katie, I had the exact same answer as you, and it told me I was wrong. The reason is because I did not actually answer the question. The question asked by what percentage is a bonus dividing by? So I put 0.7035, which was not the actual percentage. I know. So my advice to you is read the question because I did not get it right because of that. Now, the CPP is 100% multiple choice. So hopefully they would not have given us both of these options. Or hopefully if they did, we would have reread the question to figure out that you should have had it in percent form instead of in decimal form. So I was not going to put that in here, but I answered it wrong because I didn't read the question. When making a supplemental wage payment to an employee whose year-to-date supplemental wages exceed $1 million, Manon, we already talked about the supplemental tax rate is 0.22 unless they have made over $1 million, and then what is it? It is 37. Good job, guys. Good job. Gosh, I wish I had that much in supplemental wages for the year. All right, this is a big one. An employee earns $5,032.50 monthly, and they complete a 2020 Form W-4 as married filing jointly. They did not complete steps 2 through 4. Using the percentage method, calculate the employee's federal income tax withholding for the period. So hopefully I gave you all of the information that you need on this one. Give you a couple minutes to work through it, and then we'll go through it together. Okay, are you ready to go through it, or do you need more time?
2 more minutes.
Yeah, just a little more time.
Man, 2 minutes is a long time when you're sitting here alone in your office and it's super quiet. Okay, ready? Man, are you ready?
Close enough.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So line 1A, I got 5032.5. Yay.
Mhm.
1B, 12. 1C, 0. 1D, 0. What's 0 divided by anything?
0.
0.
Which gives us 5,032.50 on 1E. Again, nothing, they didn't fill out steps 2 through 4, so line 1F is going to be 0. 1G is 0, which again gives us 5,032.50 on 1H. So far, so good?
Yes.
Perfect. So I found my withholding table line, and we're going to enter from line A, or column A, I should say, $3,713. Column C, 164.60. Column D is 12%. We're going to subtract, and we get 1319.50, and that's subtracting 2A from 1H. Multiply by 12%, and I got 158.34, and my tentative withholding amount is 322.94. They didn't do anything in step 3, so we don't have anything. So 322.94. Good job, Katie. You were fast too. Felicia, where'd you go wrong?
So of course I did something wrong. I wrote 1319.15 instead of 1319.50. And I never looked back at the question. I just continued working.
You know, your number though is only rounded like 6 cents or something different than mine.
Right? Like if it was multiple choice, I'd get it right. I'd just choose the one closest.
Great. Manon, how'd you do?
I did fine. I just didn't finish. I just need to practice because I'm so slow.
Oh yeah, sorry. All right, good job, guys. Good job. Oh gosh, we cut this one. I cut this one off. Sorry. For a bi-weekly pay period, an employer, hold on, let me see if I can actually read it. I'm moving it down. Hold on. That's better. For a biweekly pay period, an employer failed to pay an employee $1,925 he was owed and needs to make an off-cycle payment. The employee's 2020 Form W-4 claims married filing jointly in step 1 and one qualifying child in step 3, $2,000 with no entries in 2 or 4. The employee uses the wage bracket method to determine federal income tax. What amount of federal income tax will be withheld from the payment? So we're going to do $1,925. Enter the number of pay periods. This person is paid bi-weekly. So we're going to do 26. Step 4A is 0. Again, we're going to divide and we get 0. We're going to add and we get 1925. 0 for step 4B. Divide. And our adjusted wage amount is $1,925. So here's your table. So from that table, we should get 103. Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Perfect. He did have $2,000 for a credit, and we're going to divide $2,000 by 26 to get 7692. Subtract 103 minus 7692 is 2608. And then if he had had any additional amounts, we would put that in there, but he did not. So I got 2608. How'd you guys do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. What's better, the percentage method or the wage withholding or wage bracket method?
Wage bracket.
It is a
Neither
lot.
of them are very hard, but this has less depth.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree. Oh, it's an accounting question. Do you want it today or tomorrow?
We got
Do it.
time.
What? Okay.
How do you want us to do it?
What do you think? To a wage and salary expense, what kind of account would it be?
Expense.
It is an expense account. Very good. Would it be a debit or a credit if we were doing a journal entry, a payroll journal entry?
Would it be a credit?
What?
It's an expense account. We would be debiting. And in this scenario up here, how much money would we debit that account for? Yep, Katie.
Total
76.
earnings.
Good job. So employer tax expense, what type of account?
Expense.
Expense, good. Debit or credit?
Debit.
Debit, good. And how much? I agree, Manon. 850412. Good job. Federal income tax withholding payable. What kind of account?
Liability.
Good job. Debit or credit?
Credit.
Good job. And how much? Federal income tax withholding. Good job, Katie. 12,063.88. Social Security tax payable. What kind of account?
Are all payables liabilities?
Yes. And it would again be a credit. Now the Social Security tax payable, how much is going to go there? Tricky, tricky, tricky. You have to make sure you include both the employer and the employee. Yes. Good job, Rebecca. So if you add them together, yes, good job. Medicare is going to be the same. So it's a liability account. It's a credit. Make sure we add the two together and we get 2,191.24. FUTA payable, again, liability, credit, and this one would be 425.78. SUTA payable, liability, credit, 2298. State income tax payable, liability, credit, 2128.92. 401k payable, again a liability, credit, and 45.96. Same with FSA payable, liability, credit, 460. Health insurance, liability, credit, 440. Dental, liability, credit, 140. Charitable deduction, liability, credit, 165. And then we had to take all of the money out of the checking account, which is an asset, credit, and the total amount of the payroll, meaning the wage expense combined with all the taxes that you deducted and all the insurance deductions, as well as your employer taxes, comes out to $50,825.86. All right, it's 11:46. I went a minute over. Questions? Felicia, I will look up military expense for moving and I will touch on that tomorrow. Any other requests?
No,
You're
I'll be doing
so
that.
good.
Okay. We can look at this example again tomorrow. I know we went through it kind of fast, so if you want, let me know.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, ladies. Talk to you soon.
Good luck, Felicia.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.